Yeah.
Has Marvin not shown you? It's
So,
usually just
welcome to
you.
another reading of Lord Mayher. This is page 3386, um, in the middle of a chapter titled Dehradun. The year is 1953. Elaborating on this point further, Baba observed, the Parsis are practically extinct. 50% of them are on my side and 50% are in opposition. Those who do not believe in me still believe in their old rituals, putting sandalwood in the fire and so forth. To them, those persons who are honest, serve mankind, and have good qualities, but who do not follow religious precepts, are condemnable. They would often say that those not burning sandalwood have bought tickets to hell. According to their faith, Zoroaster was the last prophet, and another one will come in the present Kali Yuga. In this age, uneducated people, especially, have taken to worshiping stone as God, mostly in the villages. This is another sign of the spiritual decline of the East. Changing the topic, Baba then remarked, I am fed up with my silence. My disgust is neither mental, physical, nor spiritual. It is disgust with the Mandali. The disgust with Mandali members is individual. Worldly disgust is also individual. Distaste for everything is there. I have disgust because of my silence. And when I see the disgust of the Mandali, mine is increased. Everyone is fed up, and the disgust of everyone devolves on me. The disgust the world feels also falls to my lot, in addition to the disgust I already feel about my silence. But all this disgust will evaporate when I break my silence. Addressing the Mandali, Baba asked, even if you have disgust, what happens? You must get disgusted with disgust itself. Baba continued, I am silent and do not speak at all. Have you any idea how disgusted I am with this silence? I agree with Nilu's medical opinion that I should daily take a walk in the open air. Thereby, my health will certainly improve. I am free for 4 months from the responsibilities of the Mandali and near ones, and I could have acted on his advice. But even during these 4 months, I am bound by a certain important work. That binding is infinitely bigger than the present bindings. It is so important that it will eat my life right out of me. Honestly, I am not just talking in the air. It will corrode my very life. If my body lasts, I have to do this work until the end of December. Yesterday was the first day I felt physically as bad as on similar past occasions, though this time the attack was more severe. So I have the Kantala disgust of the Mondelez Kantala, and also that of the worlds, which will disappear once I speak. But I cannot do that until the Kantala increases. To illustrate this, Baba stated, at noon, the sun is always at its meridian. When the mornings are cloudy, though it is not dark, the sun is not visible. When it is cloudy at night, the darkness is more. Suppose it is cloudy until 11:45 noon, and suddenly the clouds disappear at midday. When the sun shines, it will be the usual bright midday sun. But there is a difference in the atmosphere. The sudden appearance of the sun after the clouds will prove pleasing and cheerful. But if clouds remain for a month, it will give rise to disgust, which would increase every day. When the clouds finally disappear, the disgust will also disappear. Everything will then look cheerful and fine, and the effect of the sun on the mind, heart, and health will be very good. So is the case with me. The clouds may disperse even at 1 minute to 12 noon. But in that 1 minute, I feel greater disgust. Just as with a pregnant woman having birth pangs and feeling fed up until she delivers the child, I too feel greater disgust at the time clouds are dispersing. The woman knows that the child will be born in 5 minutes, and she will be free of her troubles. Still, at the moment she feels it is better to die. Just see the limits of disgust in these 5 minutes. My disgust is now nearing that pitch. How ridiculous it would be to ask the woman in labor to take a walk in the fresh air. She would reply that she knows all about what is going to happen to her, since she has already given birth to 10 children.
Ah,
So he who has had experience of this sort of disgust knows it only too well. While conversing with the Mandali later that same day, Baba observed, why do you suffer from loss of memory? When someone receives a sudden shock, he is likely to lose his memory. His mind goes blank, and its past link with things related to it is snapped. Sanskaras are there in the mind, but because of the snapping of the mental link, one does not recognize anyone or anything. He even forgets his near and dear ones. Similarly, at the time of death, a great shock is felt, resulting in loss of memory. One completely forgets his past life. Suppose in the past life you were a boy or a girl, good or bad, but in the present life you have no knowledge of it because the link has snapped. During death, the mind receives such a shock that it affects all the impressions. When again a child is born, the effect of the shock is dissipated. The mind opens, the link restarts, and life begins functioning. The impressions that were covered are now uncovered and are used up in actions. It is all according to your impressions of illusion or the dream that these are there. The present life is nothing but the result of the actions of the past life. Due to loss of memory, you have forgotten those impressions and feel like it is starting a fresh life. But in fact, you are continuing the old life. It is due to your past sanskaras that you are with me, play cricket with me, and listen to discourses. Illusion has a law, and law is based on the circle, but that is a different matter. As the sun rises daily in the east, the sanskaras of the past life are spent in this life. The sanskaras of the past life are spent in this life. Past impressions of the mind, when they turn into actions in the present life, create new sanskaras. Mind is full of sanskaras, and past sanskaras are to be expended. But alongside, new sanskaras crop up. Due to his past sanskaras, Kishan Singh has to take down what I am saying now. While writing, he thinks that whatever Baba is saying, he is writing. This thought does not belong to past sanskaras, and thus he creates new impressions. Mind is freed and is bound, and it binds itself by freeing itself. This goes on until annihilation of the mind is achieved and liberation gained. During this period in Dehradun, Meher Baba began dictating his book about the purpose of creation. God Speaks. He would dictate points every day to Erich, who would jot them down and write them out at night. The next day, he would read to Baba what he had written. This writing of God Speaks was not, however, completed at this time, but was continued for months in Mahabaleshwar and subsequently at Satara also. Okay, go ahead, Marvin.
Every day from Tuesday, 11th August 1953, until the 19th, Baba would come to the Mandali's quarters, and after the utterance of God's name 7 times each as listed below, he would put his head on the feet of each member of the Mandali. And here's how it went. Baidul said, Ya Yazdan. Nilu, Parabrahma Paramatma. Aloba, Aluhu Akbar. Gustaji, Ahura Mazda, 7 times mentally, as he was on silence. Don, beloved God.
Good point.
Pendu, Erich, Vishnu, Nilu, and Bao said, Paratpar Buddha. Kaikobad had his usual prayer of repetition of Baba's name. Baba would also work with mosques at this time. Baba dictated the Masters or Parvardigar prayer in Dehradun on Thursday, the 13th of August, 1953. And from that day until the 2nd of September, it was recited every evening with Baba taking part in the prayer. Don would read it aloud in English. O Parvardigar, the preserver and protector of all, etc. And it was repeated by another mandali in Gujarati. When it was over, Baba would lay his head on the feet of each of the mandali. Sidebar. I can't see it, so you go ahead, Gene.
Oh, it just says see Appendix D for the full prayer.
Okay. One evening, Baba was discussing some serious matter with the mandali when Nilu tried to liven things up by saying, Baba, I have an urgent desire for a sundi, a sweetened milk preparation. Baba replied, the neck of the cock that crows at the wrong time is chopped off. What punishment do you desire? No punishment, only basundi. Baba was exasperated at Nilu's flippant answer and scolded him. He then criticized himself. It is not good to get angry. It is very bad that I got angry. Now each of you kick me once to make me always remember that it is wrong to get angry. And every one of the mandali had to do so accordingly. After which Baba permitted Nilu his basundi. Someone claimed that the mandali's quarters at 101 Rajpur Road housed an, quote, evil spirit, unquote. It was thought to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who had committed suicide there years ago. Krishna Nair wanted a room to himself because after doing his night watch duty, he needed to rest for some time during the morning. But Baba did not allow him a separate room, stating that the ghost might kill him if he slept alone. To get rid of the spirit, Nilu suggested chilies and hair should be burned over charcoal, and the smoke should be spread throughout the bungalow. Baba accepted his suggestion and told them to put the burning coals in a small stove and carry it around the house 7 times, chanting, chew, chew, chew. Nilu did accordingly, but due to the burning chilies, his eyes teared and he was coughing as he uttered chew, chew, chew. Baba was greatly amused by the ridiculousness of his plight. The standing instructions for Baba's night watchman were for him to remain seated outside Baba's room and to enter when he heard Baba's clap. Krishna never saw the spirit, but he did hear a woman laughing. He asked Baba if he could come inside when he heard the laughter. Baba stated no, and told him not to remain seated outside either. Go in the next room and close the door, Baba said. Don't come out until I clap. Otherwise, something terrible will happen. If you come inside when the ghost is laughing, it will kill you. When Krishna heard laughing, he went to a nearby room and locked the door. He sat there for an hour and a quarter before he heard Baba's clap. When he came to Baba's room, Baba was washing his face. Baba told him to sit down, and he commented, the work is finished. End quote. Nothing was heard of the ghost again. As instructed by Baba, everyone had to keep awake the entire night of Thursday, 20th August, 1953. So Baba told Bal, since all have to stay awake, perform a play. It was on short notice, but nevertheless, Bal wrote a play based on the Indian story of Durga Das, in which a queen, Begum Gulnar, played by Elcha, dressed as a woman, expresses her love to Durga Das, who was played by Vishnu, by catching hold of him and attempting to seduce him. Durga Das spurns her love, and she, insulted, threatens to have him beheaded by an executioner, Alaba. The commander of the army Dealer, Dealer Khan, which was Nilu, wants to save him and so informs Gulnar's husband, King Aurangzeb, who was Bao, of the queen's misbehavior. Aurangzeb goes to his queen and tells her, "Darling, I have become old and cannot make love to you, yet you should not act in this way. In spite of it, I forgive you."
Still can't see the side note?
No.
Okay, I'll read it. Veer Durgadas Ratore, 1638 to 1718, is a famous Marwar Rajput king. Bao had taken the lead as Durgadas in a college production of the play. End of note.
All the men did justice to their roles, but Elcha and Alaba were the source of the greatest merriment. Alaba's entry on stage as the executioner was off cue, his sword swinging ferociously at the wrong time. Baba was in fits of laughter. Elcha forgot his lines, and when Bao recited his lines about his having grown old, Elcha ad-libbed, "You old fogey, why don't you go off into the jungle? Why don't you die so I can have some fun?" This made Baba laugh so much his cheeks turned pink. Had Elsa remembered his rehearsed lines, there would not have been as much scope for comedy. Baba praised Elcha, telling him he had enjoyed his part the most. For 7 days, from the 25th to the 31st of August, Baba would come every night to the Mandali's quarters and bow down to each of the men after they had repeated God's name 7 times, as they had done before during the first week of August. Kaigabad continued his duty of repeating Baba's name 100,000 times a day, as he had been doing for years. On 31 August, he had another glimpse, quote unquote, of Baba's divinity and almost fainted. Kaigabad described seeing an inexpressibly bright light with Baba in the midst and worlds emerging from the light. "Now I know what you are," he told Baba, "and there is no greater happiness to wish for." Baba commented to the Mandali, "If it wasn't for my physical presence near him, he could not have retained his body." On Sunday evening, 6 September, after Baba had sent the Mandali for their food, Erich was with Baba when a car pulled up and stopped outside their house. Out of the car came a few men carrying a young woman who seemed disturbed and almost out of control. They brought her and laid her down at Baba's feet, imploring him to cure her. Baba looked at her, caressed her, patted her, and assured them, "Take her. My Nazar is on her. My blessings are there. Take her back." After this incident, Baba was upset that those people had come for such a thing. "Don't they realize who I am?" he remarked to Erich. "They approach me for such things, that which I have ordained for their benefit. They want to be rid of." Distressed by this incident, the next morning, Monday, September 7th, 1953, which also happened to be Zoroaster's birthday, Baba spontaneously dictated his wonderful and important message, the highest of the high, which reads as follows. Consciously or unconsciously, directly or indirectly, each and every creature, each and every human being, in one form or the other, strives to assert individuality. But when eventually man consciously experiences that he is infinite, eternal, and indivisible, then he is fully conscious of his individuality as God, and as such experiences infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss. Thus, man becomes God and is recognized as a perfect master, Sadguru, or Kutub. To worship this man is to worship God. When God manifests on earth in the form of man and reveals his divinity to mankind, he is recognized as the Avatar, the Messiah, the Prophet. Thus, God becomes man. And so, infinite God, age after age, throughout all cycles, wills through his infinite mercy to effect his presence amidst mankind by stooping down to human level in the human form. But his physical presence amidst mankind not being apprehended, he is looked upon as an ordinary man of the world. When he asserts, however, his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the Avatar of the age, he is worshipped by some who accept him as God and glorified by a few who know him as God on earth. But it invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Thus it is that God as man, proclaiming himself as the Avatar, suffers himself to be persecuted and tortured, to be humiliated and condemned by humanity, for whose sake his infinite love has made him stoop so low, in order that humanity, by its very act of condemning God's manifestation in the form of Avatar, should, however indirectly, assert the existence of God in his infinite eternal state. The Avatar is always one and the same, because God is always one and the same, the eternal, indivisible, infinite one, who manifests himself in the form of man as the Avatar, as the Messiah, as the Prophet, as the Ancient One, the highest of the high. This eternally one and the same Avatar repeats his manifestation from time to time in different cycles, adopting different human forms and different names in different places to reveal truth in different garbs and different languages in order to raise humanity from the pit of ignorance and to help free it from the bondage of delusions. Of the most recognized and much worshipped manifestations of God as Avatar, that of Zoroaster is the earliest, having been before Ram, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, and Mohammed. Thousands of years ago, he gave to the world the essence of truth in the form of three fundamental precepts: good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. These precepts were and are constantly unfolded to humanity in one form or another, directly or indirectly, in every cycle, by the Avatar of the age, as he leads humanity imperceptibly toward the truth. To put these precepts of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds into practice is not as easily done as it would appear, though it is not impossible. But to live up to these precepts honestly and literally is apparently as impossible as it is to practice a living death in the midst of life. In the world, there are countless sadhus, mahatmas, mahapurushas, saints, yogis, and walis, though the number of genuine ones is very, very limited. The few genuine ones are, according to their spiritual status, in a category of their own, which is neither on a level with the ordinary human being, nor on a level with the state of the highest of the high. I am neither a Mahatma nor a Mahapurush, neither a sadhu nor a saint, neither a yogi nor a wali. Those who approach me with the desire to gain wealth or to retain their possessions, those who seek through me relief from distress and suffering, those who ask my help to fulfill and satisfy mundane desires, to them I once again declare that as I am not a sadhu, a saint, or a scroll, or a Mahatma, Mahapurush, or yogi, to seek these things through me is but to court utter disappointment, though only apparently, for eventually this disappointment is itself invariably instrumental in bringing about the complete transformation of mundane wants and desires. The sadhus, saints, yogis, walis, and such who are on the via media can and do perform miracles and satisfy the transient material needs of individuals who approach them for help and relief. And read the footnote, please.
Via Media is Latin, meaning a middle way or a middle ground. In this instance, it refers to the planes of the spiritual path. End of note.
The question therefore arises that if I am not a sadhu, nor a saint, not a yogi, not a Mahapurush, nor a wali, then what am I? The natural assumption would be that I am either just an ordinary human being or I am the highest of the high. But one thing I say definitely, and that is that I can never be included among those having the intermediary status of the real sadhus, saints, yogis, and such others. Now, if I am just an ordinary man, my capabilities and powers are limited. I am no better or different from an ordinary human being. If people take me as such, then they should not expect any supernatural help from me in the form of miracles or spiritual guidance. And to approach me to fulfill their desires would also be absolutely futile. On the other hand, if I am beyond the level of an ordinary human being, and much beyond the level of saints and yogis, then I must be the highest of the high, in which case, to judge me with your human intellect and limited mind, and to approach me with mundane desires, would not only be the height of folly, but sheer ignorance as well, because no amount of intellectual gymnastics could ever understand my ways or judge my infinite state. If I am the highest of the high, my will is law, my wish governs the law, and my love sustains the universe. Whatever your apparent calamities and transient sufferings, they are but the outcome of my love for the ultimate good. Therefore, to approach me for deliverance from your predicaments, to expect me to satisfy your worldly desires, would be asking me to do the impossible, to undo what I have already ordained. If you truly and in all faith accept your Baba as the highest of the high, it behooves you to lay down your life at his feet, rather than to crave the fulfillment of your desires. Not your one life, but your millions of lives would be but a small sacrifice to place at the feet of one such as Baba, who is the highest of the high. For Baba's unbounded love is the only sure and unfailing guide to lead you safely through the innumerable blind alleys of your transient life. They cannot obligate me, who surrender their all, body, mind, possessions, which perforce they must discard one day. If they surrender with a motive, surrender because they understand that to gain the everlasting treasure of bliss, they must relinquish ephemeral possessions. This desire for greater gain is still clinging behind their surrender, and as such, the surrender cannot be complete. Know you all that if I am the highest of the high, my role demands that I strip you of all your possessions and wants, consume all your desires, and make you desire less rather than satisfy your desires. Sadhus, saints, yogis, and walis can give you what you want, but I take away your wants and free you from attachments and liberate you from the bondage of ignorance. I am the one to take, not the one to give you what you want or as you want. Mere intellectuals can never understand me through the intellect. If I am the highest of the high, it becomes impossible for the intellect to gauge me, nor is it possible for my ways to be fathomed by the limited mind. I am not to be attained by those who, loving me, stand reverentially by in rapt admiration. I am not for those who ridicule me and point at me with contempt. To have a crowd of tens of millions flocking around me is not what I am for. I am for the selected few, scattered among the crowd, silently and unostentatiously surrender their all, body, mind, and possessions, to me. I am still more for those who, after surrendering their all, never give another thought to their surrender. They are all mine who are prepared to renounce even the very thought of their renunciation, and who, keeping constant vigil in the midst of intense activity, await their turn to lay down their lives for the cause of truth at a glance or sign from me. Those who have indomitable courage to face willingly and cheerfully the worst calamities, who have unshakable faith in me, eager to fulfill my slightest wish at the cost of their happiness and comfort, they indeed truly love me. From my point of view, far more blessed is the atheist who confidently discharges his worldly responsibilities, accepting them as his honorable duty, than the man who presumes he is a devout believer in God, yet shirks the responsibilities apportioned to him through divine law and runs after sadhus, saints, and yogis, seeking relief from the suffering which ultimately would have pronounced his eternal liberation. To have one eye glued on the enchanting pleasures of the flesh, and with the other expect to see a spark of eternal bliss, is not only impossible, but the height of hypocrisy. I cannot expect you to understand all at once what I want you to know. It is for me to awaken you from time to time throughout the ages, sowing the seed in your limited minds, which must, in due course, and with proper heed and care on your part, germinate, flourish, and bear the fruit of that true knowledge which is inherently yours to gain. If, on the other hand, led by your ignorance, you persist on going your own way, none can stop you in your choice of progress, for that too is progress, which, however slow and painful, eventually, and after innumerable incarnations, is bound to make you realize that which I want you to know now. To save yourself from further entanglement in the maze of delusion and self-created suffering, which owes its magnitude to the extent of your ignorance of the true goal. Awake now, pay heed, and strive for freedom by experiencing ignorance in its true perspective. Be honest with yourself and God. One may fool the world and one's neighbors, but one can never escape from the knowledge of the omniscient. Such is divine law. I declare to all of you who approach me, and to those of you who desire to approach me, accepting me as the highest of the high, that you must never come with the desire in your heart, which craves for wealth and worldly gain, but only with the fervent longing to give your all, body, mind, and possessions, with all their attachments. Seek me not to extricate you from your predicaments, but find me in order to surrender yourself wholeheartedly to my will. Cling to me not for worldly happiness and short-lived comforts, but adhere to me through thick and thin, sacrificing your own happiness and comforts at my feet. Let my happiness be your cheer, and my comforts your rest. Do not ask me to bless you with a good job, but desire to serve me more diligently and honestly, and without expectation of reward. Never beg of me to save your life or the lives of your dear ones, but beg of me to accept you and permit you to lay down your life for me. Never expect me to cure you of your bodily afflictions, but beseech me to cure you of your ignorance. Never stretch out your hands to receive anything from me, but hold them high in praise of me, whom you have approached as the highest of the high. If I am the highest of the high, nothing is then impossible for me. And though I do not perform miracles to satisfy individual needs, the satisfaction of which would result in entangling the individual more and more into the net of ephemeral existence, yet time and again, at certain periods, I manifest the infinite powers in the form of miracles, but only for the spiritual upliftment and benefit of humanity and all creatures. However, miraculous experiences have often been experienced by individuals who love me and have unswerving faith in me, and these have been attributed to my nazar or grace on them.
Go ahead,
Thanks
Rosie.
for going back. I love that. But I want all to know that it does not befit my lovers to attribute such individual miraculous experiences to my state of the highest of the high. If I am the highest of the high, I am above these illusory plays of Maya in the course of the divine law. Therefore, whatever miraculous experiences are experienced by my lovers who recognize me as such, or by those who love me unknowingly through other channels, they are but the outcome of their own firm faith in me. Their unshakable faith, often superseding the course of the play of Maya, gives them those experiences which they call miracles. Such experiences, derived through firm faith, eventually do good and do not entangle the individuals who experience them into further and greater bindings of illusion. If I am the highest of the high, then a wish of my universal will is sufficient to give in an instant God realization to one and all, and thus free every creature in creation from the shackles of ignorance. But blessed is knowledge that is gained through the experience of ignorance in accordance with the divine law. This knowledge is made possible for you to attain in the midst of ignorance by the guidance of perfect masters and surrenderance to the highest of the high. I do have to go, but this is fabulous. And remember, it's 911.
Still trying to figure out how to. Just give me a few seconds. I'm
Okay.
trying to size. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, where do we start from on Friday morning?
Correct.
Okay. On Friday morning, 11th September 1953, Baba left Dehradun for a must journey without sleep. He was accompanied by Erach, Pendu, Gustaji, Baidul, Helen, Kumar, Kishan Singh, and Elcha. Helen drove Kishan Singh's car and Elcha drove the jeep. They proceeded to Delhi and then towards the Punjab, contacting 7 good musts with whom Baba had worked before. Baba contacted saints and sadhus also and visited 7 renowned samadhis and 7 dargahs, saints' tombs, as he had previously said he would, paying his obeisance at each one. They traveled day and night from one place to another, and despite the fact that no one had more than a few hours of sleep until they returned 5 days later, Baba did his work energetically. Their first stop on the 11th was Deoband, where Baba bowed down at several samadhis. At 11 a.m., they arrived in Meerut. Mansari's brother, Meenu Desai of Navsari, was a lieutenant colonel in the army and had been stationed in Meerut for a month. He had no idea Baba would come to visit him, but when he saw Baba, Meenu was ecstatic. Baba, what refreshments should I arrange for you? He asked. Save Gatia, Baba replied, a poor man's diet of fried chickpeas. Meenu had other eatables in his quarters, but no Save Gatia, which is only available in Gujarat and the Bombay area. I've come to see you, Baba smiled, not for food or drink. I have to leave immediately. Baba asked about his wife Bapae and their daughter Meher, reminding him, don't forget Meher is mine, not yours. Don't worry about her. My nazar is on her. Baba and the Mandali traveled on to Suraj Kund, where at the samadhis of Anant Nath and Manohar Nath, a local priest was called to offer prayers. I'll just repeat this. Baba and the Mandali traveled on to Suraj Kund, where at the samadhis of Anant Nath and Manohar Nath, a local priest was called to offer prayers. After the priest chanted some verses in Sanskrit, Baba, Baidul, and Gustaji bowed down at the tombs. On his return to Meerut, Baba worked with the 5th plain chargeman of the city, Meherban Baba, with whom he had worked 7 years before. The humble must was feeding a cat when Baba approached his small hut. Although he refused even to stretch his feet outside the hut, he did accept some money Baba offered him. When Baba bowed to him from a distance, the must muttered, speaking in Persian, I said, I saw. Then, speaking in beautiful Hindi, he repeated softly 3 times, only the fortunate ones shall know what a fortune it is to see him. Traveling on, Baba next paid his respects at the dargahs of the Muslim saints Shah Pir and Makhdoom Ali Shah. It was late afternoon by then, and they proceeded to Delhi. They reached Delhi by 5 o'clock and stayed at Wasdeo Khan's residence. Baba mentioned that he wished to visit different dargahs and samadhis in Delhi before retiring that evening, but later changed the time to 4 the next morning. As planned, after paying his respects at several well-known dargahs in the city, Baba went to the sabadhi of Tegh Bahadur. The priest there was given some money and was asked to offer a prayer for the successful completion of Baba's 4-month-long work. Not knowing who Baba was, the priest added to his prayer, and may God bless him with a child also. The men smiled at the man's remark, and while leaving, Baba joked, I already have an infinite number of children. It's hard enough to look after them. After lunch, Baba visited several more shrines and places of worship in Delhi. Allowing Ken to accompany them, Baba and the group left Delhi on Sunday, 13 September 1953 for Panipat, where he visited the dargah of the Qutub Buali Shah Kalandar. There's a footnote.
Can you see it, or do I need to
No,
read
I
it?
can't. Yes,
Okay,
I can't.
it's just short. It says Baba had previously contacted a must at this dargah in 1942. End of note.
While returning, Baba walked through the town's bazaar, where Helen was supposed to have brought the car. But he had not properly followed Baba's directions, and Kumar went to look for him in a rickshaw. Meanwhile, someone said that Panipat was famous for a certain type of sweets, and Baba permitted them to purchase some. It was still early, and most of the shops were closed, but they managed to find some and took it to Baba, who had remained in the car. Baba distributed the sweets and had some himself. On Helen's arrival, they drove via Kurukshetra to Rajpura. Baba instructed Cain to return to Delhi from there. Later, Cain related, what I noticed was that Baba was most active and most cheerful when he went on a must tour. It seemed as if he had come on earth only for the sake of the must. They were anxious to meet him because they were stuck at various stations, and Baba was anxious to meet them. At Sirhind, Baba visited the shrine Fatehgarh Gurudwara, where the Sikh priest of the temple offered prayers. At Khanna, Baba wished to contact Bimbi Mast again. Footnote.
Side note says Baba had contacted Bombi the previous June. End of note.
The naked boy was spotted on the road, and Baidul and Baba stepped out of the car to approach him. Bambi took a tight hold of Baidul's arm and walked with him, but he let go when Baba offered him 2 apples. Then, arm in arm with Baba, he began walking towards a tea shop. Baba offered him a cup of tea and some sweets. Baba touched his feet and was quite satisfied with the contact. They left and continued traveling via Philor to Mohwala. At the village of Mianwal, Baba again contacted the naked must he had met in June. When Baba began pressing his legs, the must looked at him and cried out, "Leave, go away." Baba, however, was so pleased he remained seated by his side for half an hour longer. When the must stood up, walked away, and sat alongside the road, Baba followed him and fed him apples and grapes. While feeding him, several times Baba placed his forehead on the must's feet. From there they drove through tiny dirt roads and fields to Sangatpur, which they reached at 10 o'clock that night. Nuria Baba, the must, they had come to see had locked his room from inside and refused to come out. Finally, he was induced to open the door, and Baba bowed down to him. Baidul asked the saintly Mast to bless Baba so that his work would be successful, and Nuria declared, "You will be triumphant in your work." Baba wished to proceed to Bara Rurka to work with a highly advanced Mast, Chinta Bhagat. The road to Bara Rurka was 10 miles from the nearest town, and being unpaved, it had turned into a quagmire due to recent monsoon rains. It was not a straight road, but had turns and twists leading off to other villages. Elcha, who had previously stayed in the area for a long time, reported, "Baba, it is impossible to traverse this road at night. We will miss our turn and get lost. Sugarcane fields border both sides of the road, and we won't be able to tell which road leads where." Baba asked Baidul if he could lead him there. Baidul assured him that he could, and added confidently that they would reach the Massa board that night. Elcha pleaded, "Baba, don't listen to him. I know this area. Baidul will only make us wander about in the fields." Baba told Baidul to lead the way, and by going left and right, then right and left with Helen driving, he took them straight to the Must's place. When they reached it at 11 o'clock in the night, Elcha was so impressed that, as a joke, he stretched out on the ground before Baidul in obeisance and said fervently to Baba, "I thought he was a fool until now, but every one of the monthly you have selected is a gem. Some are well versed in one thing, some in another, but none are like Baidul. He has a nose like a compass." Baidul woke the Sikh who served as Chinta Bhagat's caretaker, and together they went to the Must's room, where he was lying asleep on a charpai, cloth strap cot. The Sikh began chanting devotional verses, and soon the Must rose and sat on his bed. As his devotee continued singing, the Must clapped his hands and laughed merrily in ecstasy. Repeating the refrain of the song, Chinta Bhagat stood up and held Baba's hand and began walking to and fro in the room, sometimes leading Baba outside to the road. Chinta Bhagat would not let Baba go. With Baba's finger in his hand, he circumambulated the room. Baba had to follow along. At 2 a.m., in complete darkness and bitter cold, Baba followed the Mast in step outside. At a sign from Baba, Erich told the Mast, "We have to go now. Let go of him." The Mast stood still for a minute holding Baba's hand, but then he pushed Erich aside and again started going around the hut. This continued for almost another hour. It was a classic scene of how the beloved becomes the slave of his true lovers. It was Baba's unique way with the Must. Age noted, he became their devoted servant, completely submissive to their every whim and wish. And he enjoyed such situations immensely, although they were exhausting physically. Erich, concerned about the strain to Baba's injured leg, again repeated his entreaty to Chinta Bhagat, and the Must stopped for a short while and then started again, weeping and chanting the entire time. Finally, on his own, the Must let go of Baba's hand and stopped walking. At the end of the contact, Chinta Bhagat was asked to bless Baba's work, which he did obligingly. Late at night, Baba and party reached the Philor railway station. Baba again worked with Mastani Ma there. During his first meeting with her, she had asked for a rupee coin, so Baba offered her one this time too. She refused it, saying, "I will take it, but at dawn." After being gently persuaded to bless Baba's work and let him leave, she accepted the coin and said, "God will help you." Baba got into the car and Mastani Ma followed him and asked for 10 rupees. Baba offered her a 10 rupee note, but she wanted 10 1 rupee coins. Luggage in the trunk of the car had to be untied to fulfill her wish. She then asked for a pencil and drew some lines and figures on Baba's back. Baba and the group then left for Haridwar via Roorkee and visited different samadhis and dargahs along the way. They reached Haridwar on the evening of 14 September. Baba wished to work with a must residing in a garden a few miles from Kankhal, but because of the recent rain, the dirt road leading to the garden contained large deep puddles and was in a muddy condition. 2 or 3 times, Baba and the men had to get out of the car and wade through the water while the car detoured through the fields. Finally, the mast was found and the contact was to Baba's satisfaction. Afterward, Baba was driven back to Haridwar specifically to work again with the great mast Saint Neelakantwala. Baba then headed to Rishikesh, and after a few contact with sadhus, the men were allowed to eat dinner. Baba wished to offer prayers at midnight, and they drove to Kalyar near Roorkee, where he could offer prayers at the shrine of the perfect master Sabir. Baba urged Helan to drive faster and faster so that he would be sure to reach Kalyar on time. When they reached Sabir's tomb, Baidul went to the caretaker to request that he open it. The man flatly refused, and Baba had to make do with offering prayers near a marble trellis through which Sabir's grave was visible. Baba instructed all the men accompanying him to circumambulate Sabir's dargah 101 times.
Thank you, Pia. This is the end of reading for today. We'll pick up here next week.